You do?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, is that something you've always known, or did you come to that?
I've come to that.
Was there something that happened? Was there did you see a baby, you were holding a baby and you were like, uh-oh, the feeling that people talk about is happening?
I think it's more, because even my sister tell you, like, when she got pregnant.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Bird 91. Look, I wanted to have a conversation with you about Meagan Good. I've been in a few videos about her and Jonathan Majors and DeVon Franklin over the last year or so. But the key question we have to ask ourselves is, why is it that she feels ready now? What's changed? And before you shout at me and say a woman can make her own choices and she can change her mind, I do believe that. I just believe that there is also a catalyst to why she changed her mind. And in this video, I'm going to prove it because I think she actually tells us the reason why she changed her mind. And unfortunately, the reason being actually is between two men. DeVon Franklin made her feel trapped and made her feel like it was going to be Groundhog Day. At least the Groundhog Day is what she definitely said. But when someone says Groundhog Day, what does that mean? It means feeling trapped. With Jonathan Majors, she feels free. But that's not the only thing that's actually happening here. I've spoken about Meagan Good and her background, especially with her interview on Club Shay. And I introduced the idea that I believe that Meagan Good, through her parentification, having to be a provider for her family, living in a household, yes, with a parent, but a single parent in a sense, right, has a fearful, avoidant background. And with that, how that actually impacts her relationship and how it impacted her relationship with DeVon Franklin. Though they didn't share as much information, I think the more she speaks up about her relationship with Jonathan Majors, the more we actually fully understand what actually happened with DeVon Franklin. So in this video, we're going to break it down. We're going to explain to you how I believe that Meagan Good actually transformed from being a place of where she was not really sure about having kids, but then got to a place where she was, but then that towards the end of the relationship of her and DeVon Franklin, to how now she is so secure and so like, I'm going to have kids with Jonathan Majors. It's more than just Jonathan Majors is that great guy. There is actually something else to it. So if you're somebody who loves to break things down, this is gonna be the video for you. I'm gonna expose it all. Make sure you do me a massive favor before we do. You're gonna like it, you're gonna share, you're gonna subscribe, you're gonna click on that wonderful bell button and click on the notifications. Let's drop a little intro and then we're gonna get into Little Black. You know what time it is. Time it is. Time it is. Time it is. Time it is.
Will say, I think even that put me.
But we have so many
she was
plans.
like 33. But I will say, I think even that put me back a little bit because I was like, ooh, that's a lot, you know?
Yeah.
But I think even now, I'm just super ready because I think there was a fear that life would turn into Groundhog's Day. And I think now, honestly, in huge part to Jonathan, because I knew I wanted to be a mom before Jonathan. I knew I was about ready before Jonathan.
Yep.
But I'm like ready right now because I have so much fun with him and because I know that it's not going to become Groundhog's Day. I know.
Now, what does that mean? When someone tells you that I have so much fun with this new person and I know it's not going to be Groundhog Day, it tells you that they were Groundhog Day in their past relationship. And the reality was, because we know her background, she was, she's a movie actress. She is well-renowned. This is Meagan Good, the boy dems, man dems kind of affection and love poster on their wall kind of type of woman. And she married someone called DeVon Franklin, who's also a minister. And we can understand that when you are married to a minister and you're in the four walls, there's a particular way you have to behave. We saw how she was lambasted, hounded, and harangued by the church people and folks about the way that she behaved. Now, of course, you can debate that aspect amongst yourself. Whether you felt it was okay, she should do something like Harlem, that's on you. But we are talking about Meagan Good and her actual experiences within that relationship. I think obviously going back into her past and her childhood, we saw in Club Shay and she spoke about how she is a provider for her family. At the time she was. Grew up in a particular household and background where single mother and having to be a parent before its actual time. Her mother was a manager for her as well too. And so that's why I got the idea that, okay, I think she's coming from a very disorganized attachment background. For those of you who don't really know what attachment styles are, when we talk about attachment styles, it is a way that you emotionally connect in a relationship. There is John Bowlby who first began this particular experiment, and Mary Ainsworth built upon it in the UK, noticing how babies attach to the caregiver. And what they noticed was that there were three main attachments. There was secure, there was avoidant, and there was anxious. But then Mary Ainsworth came along and developed a fourth one, which is what we call fearful avoidant, which is what we're discussing today. You see, the fearful avoidant attachment is one of the four main attachments, which is very unique because it involves the anxious and the avoidant traits. So they're usually on a spectrum of either one, depending on especially who their partner is or what is happening in their life circumstances, right? So people in this particular attachment style, they're always looking for a deep emotional connection. They're looking for love on a deep level. They are fantasists. They want a fantasy, right? They think everything has to be perfect, right? And their greatest fear is that they want to love but are afraid to receive love. And they fear that they're not good enough. They feel like they have to prove themselves. They're fearing that, they'll be abandoned or rejected. And so because they both have the anxious and the avoidant aspects, there is always this push and pull. But one of the biggest things about this is that they don't like too much intensity at the very beginning when they are in love, when they're liking somebody. Because that intensity, they're not sure of their own feelings. And because of that, it makes them feel unsure about your intense feelings. And so they begin to withdraw. Now, how does that involve, obviously, talking about DeVon Franklin and her situation and Jonathan Majors? Well, we know with Meagan Good that she's done a lot of work over the course of the years, right? She speaks about how she has learned a lot of things from the divorce from DeVon Franklin and grown. And we have to understand that in that space, when it comes to relationships, we are always learning. There's always a lesson to learn. It's an L because we're learning something new from the situation. I think her growing up in an unstable home, the parentification, experiencing some level of abandonment and betrayal. Remember, she spoke about DeVon Franklin and how he left her like her father left her mother, and she didn't want to see that, right? That betrayal, and not necessarily having maybe that safe space to actually be a child as Meagan Good, because Meagan Good has been a star since she's been a child. So been a star since a child, you're in your own home, and you are a parent because you are financially providing in your household. This is going to create that fearful avoidant attachment. Now, the biggest thing about this is she mentioned Groundhog Day. So let's play the video one more time, and I'm going to explain why I believe this is a big, big issue.
I think now, honestly, in huge part to Jonathan, because I knew I wanted to be a mom before Jonathan. I knew I was about ready before Jonathan.
Yep.
But I'm like ready right now because I have so much fun with him, and because I know that it's not gonna become Groundhog's Day. I know that me and him are gonna be backpacking over here, and we're gonna be over here producing this movie that I might be directing and he might be producing, or he might be starring, and our kids are gonna be with us in Africa, wherever it is. But I just know that even if we're not moving around a lot, that
Now, she mentioned this thing about Groundhog Day, mentioned about, I know that I'm going to be okay with it because we're going to be moving around. Why? Because fearful avoidance require novelty. Yes, they require something new. Now, this can actually be a great thing, but it can also be a detrimental thing. The constant need and desire for something new is great because it always births new experiences. The problem with that is it creates instability in a relationship. And so her fear actually was the stability. She was afraid that it will be monotonous and boring and over and over and over and over again. I'll be doing the same thing over and over again. Why is that? Well, I think it's because she was not fully honest herself in the relationship with DeVon Franklin. Or she, in fact, I feel like, yes, I do believe that. I feel like she conformed herself to an image that she could not actually live by, right? We know that with the church, they were on her neck about the way she dressed, about the way she moved. We're going to dress up, right? Remember that clip where they said about, you're going to dress up, right? And they were on her, right? But the reality of the situation is that wasn't her true identity. You know why? Because look where she's gone back to. She went back to the revealing clothes, the sexy Meagan. She went back to the, I'm going to give it to y'all. You know what I'm saying to you? And therefore, she had two sides of her. She wanted to be that woman, because she probably wanted to play a role to be in order to be loved and cared for, right? But in reality, that wasn't the true her. And you have to understand that her background, where she's coming from, she wants to be loved, cared for, but she wants autonomy whilst also the responsibility, right? Because she's been parentified, but at the same time, being a fearful avoidant, you want your freedom, but you also want to be protected. You also want to be covered, right? And so that strong need for independence, it forces you into responsibility early, yes. You become a caretaker because of parentification, but you fear being trapped and controlled, right? Because you've always been a parent. You've always been the one making decisions. So now to be in a place where you might not be making those decisions, and decisions are being made for you in an environment like church, I can see, right? And remember that fearful avoidance and any of the insecure attachments struggle with vulnerability, right? It's hard to process your emotions, and you're feeling various emotions at one time. It can be very, very difficult. And so there may be this her own self, image that she had of herself. Maybe she felt unstable in that relationship herself. Maybe she felt like being a mother at that point in time would have been detrimental because she herself hasn't maybe finished or achieved what she wants to achieve. Maybe she's not going where she wants to go right now. Or it could be that the fact that her playing the wife of DeVon Franklin was taking up so much mental capacity for her that she couldn't think about now bringing a child into it and into their routine and into what they were already doing. It wasn't as exciting as she wanted it to be because it lacked freedom. So it's not that DeVon Franklin necessarily was a bad person, but it wasn't necessarily the right choice. Her fear of losing independence probably pushed her to be more resistant to motherhood with DeVon Franklin. All right, she may have felt trapped by his expectations of being that first lady in that space. But we've heard her talk about her and Jonathan Majors and how free she feels, right? There's a different dynamic. She feels more in control of the relationship dynamic. Why? Because she's a caretaker for Jonathan Majors right now. Now, that could be a good or bad thing. Now, I don't believe you should build up a man or build up a woman. I think that leads to monsters. Okay? Shelley Ann said it best in Frankenstein. You know what I'm saying? Frankenstein killed the creator. And the reason being is because when you create monsters, they always go and turn on the creator. Now, in the Jonathan Major relationship, she has, at this point in time, for now, seemingly plays a caretaker role because he was in trouble with the courts and she was one supporting him, being that Coretta King for him. You know what I'm saying to you? Right? But with Jonathan Majors, she may not feel as trapped because there is safety in the control that she feels. Now, the relationship feels less restrictive because, as she said, he's willing to go to Africa, go here, do this, do these projects, and be free with it. So, the reality of the situation is that maybe with DeVon Franklin, it's not necessarily DeVon Franklin was a bad husband or wasn't a husband that loved and cared for her, but rather maybe she felt like she wasn't emotionally safe in that place. And that's something that maybe he couldn't do anything about, because emotional safety is on two fronts. It's what they can do for you, but also what you do for yourself. If you don't feel safe within yourself, it's going to be hard for others to make you feel safe too. Okay? Now, you have to understand the fearful avoidant also tends to resist emotional dependency. They don't want to be dependent on anybody else, right? They don't want to be in that space. And DeVon Franklin was more of I said he's more of a dismissive avoidant. And with that, there are things that are going to happen where you're going to get into, I call the avoidant trap, right? And the avoidant cycle. So I think that there may have been a case of her not being able to feel confident enough to let go and be free. But with Jonathan Majors, she's able to be authentically her. She's able to grow and evolve. And she's able to be the Meagan Good that she believes that she needs to be. Okay? All right? So this is actually a major, major thing. Right? Maybe there was too much comfort, too much safety, too much routine. Now, the question is, was DeVon wrong timing? Was it from God? That's a question you can ask yourself. What I would say is, for anybody here who's listening to this, I want you to be very understanding that we're not trying to judge Meagan Good. I think that as growth and time come along, you learn and you mature, but you grow more in understanding of yourself. I think for anybody listening to this specifically, we have to look at it from a place of that when you have an attachment, it is your job to learn about it so you can begin to heal from that place. Because a lot of the decisions we're making are from that attachment style. Now, this is a lot of the stuff that I talk about in coaching. When I go with clients, I break down these stuff. I talk about their background, their childhood. We talk about the patterns that they are existing in and why they're doing what they're doing right now. Have you ever asked yourself, why am I making the decisions I make right now? Just like we have to ask Meagan Good, why is it now that she feels uber confident to be able to have children now? And she told you the answer. Because she felt free. She knows that she won't be doing Groundhog Day, and that Jonathan makes life fun. These are all the things that acquaint with her particular attachment style because of what she had been as a child. Restricted, parentified, made to be a sole provider from young. Life wouldn't have been as fun as she needed it to be. She couldn't be a kid. So why would I want to be a mother when I haven't fully fleshed out my childhood as an adult? Now, if this is something that touches you or something that resonates with you, if you relate with Meagan's journey and you feel torn about wanting love, but the way that you're receiving it, or the way you fear losing that love, then this is probably a really great time to reach out to myself, because this is the kind of stuff we're doing in coaching. I want to be able to help you grow, heal, and transform. I don't want you to suffer in this space, but hopefully this video has made you feel seen. And if so, reach out to me. And if you don't need the coaching, fantastic. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with this video or you disagree? But don't let another day go by where you're confused and you don't know what's actually happened with you, right? Today, take some action. I appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. We're gonna see you again for another deeply a deep breakdown about relationships again once more. I appreciate you. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again soon.